Okay, we're already halfway through the year. It's kind of hard to believe, but this is a great time to really start looking at data. We have enough to compare to last year to get a better idea of how we're doing so far. So we'll start with our Beacon report. We'll run through that really quick. The bin median home price, it did go down to $772,000. We saw that spike last month, but remember, this is the midpoint, half above, half below. So just a few big sales can really drive that number up. You have to kind of look at this over the long period to get a better feel of how the market's doing. Okay, number of sales. This one is kind of interesting. I was actually impressed, pleasantly surprised. We have done the same amount, almost the same amount of sales so far this year as we did last year, according to this Beacon data. So if we're comparing apples to apples, through May of last year, 599 homes sold. Through May of this year, 613. So as slow as the market feels, it's still performing the same that it did last year. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a busy market. I've shared this chart many, many times, so I'll pull it up again. This is the National Association of Realtors data that shows the recent years' number of sales in the United States. The last 2 years in 23 and 24 were the slowest number of sales since the mid-90s. And if we're looking at the data from what we see so far here locally and from what I can gather across the nation, we are kind of on pace to do the same thing. So this could be another year of maybe 4 million sales, a little bit above that. Now, when we're talking about days on market, you can see the Beacon data really has been kind of repeating this pattern for the last few years. As we move into summer, we see the days on market go down. I'll show you the MLS data here in a little bit so you can see the average compared to the median that they show here. It's definitely a little bit slower when you look at the average. This is a fun chart too. Everybody likes to talk about this because of interest rates, you know, how many cash deals there are versus loans. So you can see the conventional finances there in the blue versus the cash there in the green. This same time last year, we had 46 cash deals, 74 finance. So again, it's very similar to what it was last year. I think things feel a little bit worse or feel a lot slower because the inventory, because the number of homes on the market, which again, the Beacon report shows we're already up to 5 months of supply here. We peaked in July and August with 4 months of supply. I suspect we will see more homes come on the market and maybe we get to 6 months of supply, possibly 7. All right, that's enough of the Beacon data. Let's look at some MLS data. This is a chart that I've showed you guys many times. I do this search every single week. I have for a number of years. These are single family homes under 1 acre in Bend. It's not the Bend city limits. I do go a little bit outside of there. It's basically about an 8-mile radius from the center of town. But it's consistent to see, you know, how this has changed over the year. You can see our active listings at 642 compared to 397 the same time last year. That DOM stands for days on market. So you can see the average days on market is much higher than the median. The interesting part I see here is you look at this week's pending average sales price at $880,000. The same time a year ago, the average pending sales price was $951. One more MLS data chart I'll pull up. This is just that pie chart, breaks down the sales through today, which is June 12th. You can see our 500 to 600, 600 to 700. There's the bulk of our sales. That's where the majority of things are happening. So it's always kind of nice to know, you know, what price categories are selling the most across Bend. All right, last two things to make mention of: inflation rate and interest rates. So inflation has improved a little bit. We're at 2.4%. We were at about 3% this same time last year. The Fed has said they want to get to that 2%. But there's a lot of pressure now on Jerome Powell and the Fed to adjust this before it's too late and get interest rates down. And it's likely going to really help spur the market and pick up activity. The current 30-year fixed rate mortgage is still at about 6.8%. It's floated there for quite a while. The Fed's next meeting is June 18th, so we'll be really curious to see what they do. All right, as always, thank you for dropping in to watch the video. I'm always available for your referrals. I'm so grateful, and I'll talk to you guys next month. Thank you.